Please raise your right hand. You do solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in this action shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
And can you please state and spell your name for the record?
Yeah, Michael Lasso, Michael Lasso. Thank you very much.
May I proceed, Your Honor?
You may.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
How are you currently employed?
I'm sorry?
How are you currently employed?
Right now I'm a law clerk, so I'm law clerk for the Honorable Judge Mary Kay Holthus.
And did you just see Ms. Holthus leave the courtroom?
I did.
How long have you been her law clerk?
I've been her law clerk basically a year now, maybe a year and 1 month. So August 2023 is when I first took the job, and right now I'm scheduled to be there till August 2025.
You've known her much longer than
Yes,
a little over a
yeah.
year, correct?
I've known her a long time. She's really a family friend. I kind of know her children very well. Almost grew up together, so yeah, I've known her a long time. That's how I got lucky enough to kind of be able to work with her. And since working with her, I see her in a whole new light now. A lot of respect for her.
How long have you known her?
Man, probably since I was 8 years old. So maybe 11 years, just about.
How
8 years old?
Yeah.
11? I'm just doing, are you 19 years old?
Oh no, wait a minute. Oh my God. I'm like, wait. I'm actually not good at math. That's why I'm a law clerk. So man, has it really been that long? Because I'm 27 now. So 21 years? Wow. Or no.
19?
Oh no. It's a long time.
Okay, so you've known her for 19 years.
Yeah.
And that's how you became her law clerk?
Yeah, pretty much. That's how I became her law clerk. I guess I got a good recommendation, so I was able to get the job.
What does a law clerk do?
Law clerk basically kind of just does whatever the judge needs. I mean, I do a lot of briefing for her. I'm almost the middleman in between the judge and anyone else, like attorneys. So anyone that wants to contact the judge, anyone wants to speak with her, anyone that files a motion, anything like that, I'm the middleman in between. So I'm looking at all the motions, I'm speaking to all the attorneys, I'm kind of coordinating everything. I brief all the motions for the judge, kind of give her a heads up. And sometimes it's as simple as, just giving her a cup of coffee.
Do you also accompany her to her calendars?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Every calendar, I sit directly next to the judge, kind of on the left side of her, and we have a split docket, so we have criminal and civil. So I'm just kind of on that left side, almost where this monitor is, and I'll kind of be right here, and the judge will be right there. She has her own monitors, and I have kind of my own computer, and yeah, I'm directly next to the judge for every calendar.
And when the calendar is occurring, what are you doing while you're seated next to her?
It depends. I'm usually checking my emails. I'll also keep going along with whatever matters up. So, maybe if it's a criminal matter, I kind of pull up that entire file. If there's anything that the judge quickly needs printed, or maybe it's a police report or anything like that, I kind of right there. I have a printer there. I can print anything she needs. Or sometimes I need to run in the back, get her something that she needs, maybe make a copy. Basically anything at all, just to make sure the calendar runs smooth.
Okay. And what days does she hear her criminal calendar?
She hears her criminal calendar on Mondays and Wednesdays, and then Tuesdays her civil.
Okay. Is it fair to say that the courtroom that she presides in is set up very differently from the courtroom we're currently in?
Oh, absolutely. Much different. This is a much bigger courtroom, but the defense and plaintiff desks are much further away. I would say these are a lot closer than the ones that are in her courtroom.
Okay. I'm going to show you some photographs of your courtroom.
Sure.
So that you can help explain the layout for us. I'm showing you on the overhead what's been admitted as States 2. Could I get it flipped over, please?
Oh, man, I think the TVs went off, unfortunately. There we go. Counsel, you might take away, I think the light is hitting.
Your Honor, I can't see yet, sorry. I couldn't see, the monitor was taking a minute to turn on.
can pull up the lamps.
Yeah, pull up the lamps just a tad.
I might turn them off. There we go.
There it goes.
Okay, Mr. Lasso, this is State's Exhibit 2, for the record. These tables right here that we see, who typically stands right there?
So usually the defense.
During a calendar.
Yeah, usually the defense stays there, and then on the other side, that opposite desk is where the DA or the state, whoever's representing the state that day, maybe it's an AG, will be sitting over there.
And then,
You know, we do have a mouse there.
Oh, perfect. Yeah.
Okay, where did the defense sit?
So defense would be right here, typically like right here. Maybe the attorney would be next to him, and then on the other side here, kind of where that mouse is, that other desk is where the state would be.
okay. And then, is there also an area where the court staff, such as the court clerk and a court reporter sit?
Yeah, it would be. I don't know what's going on here. That would be like right here. So this is where our court clerks are. This is where our court recorder would be, kind of like right here. That's our monitor. That's where the judge is. And then on that right side, that monitor is my monitor right there. And then to the right of that is actually where that little monitor is the witness stand. So usually during criminal calendar, we have a correctional officer that would sit there.
And was there a correctional officer sitting there on January 3rd of 2024?
Yes, there was.
What is the difference between a court clerk and a law clerk?
There's a big difference. You know, the law clerk is usually has a legal degree, so we're briefing actually the law that's involved in the motion. So we're looking up the case law, making sure it's still good, reliable. Kind of briefing those, telling judge, giving her recommendations as to what she should do, what she shouldn't do. Whereas the court clerk is also a middleman in between the judge, but at the same time they just kind of handle just different areas. They're not really involved in any legal advising or aspect of it. I would say more just kind of coordination, handling minutes, like court minutes, things like that. So just kind of a little different.
Okay. And then the court recorder, you said you guys have a recorder in that department,
Yeah,
correct?
and that one right there. So this one, that monitor, you can kind of see it's light. That would be for the court clerk, and then to the left side would be the court recorder.
Okay. And with regards to that courtroom, is there actually an entrance behind that tile wall that we can see?
Yes, yeah. So that's where the judge and me, that's where we usually enter, along with the entire court staff, really. We all kind of enter in through that door. Her chambers would be right behind there. So we kind of come in through this right side way. Then I take my seat right there, judge will sit right there, and then the rest of the court staff will take their place.
And then moving on to states 3. Oops, let me take this one off. What are we looking at here?
So this is kind of just a seating area. Usually people who are supporting the defense or the defendant would be sitting in this back area, but it really could be anyone. So that desk right here is the defense desk, kind of just the opposite angle. Or I'm sorry, the state's desk. I'm sorry. So this would be usually anyone that on behalf of the state sits right here. And this would be, like I said, where the DA or the state would be. And then that opposite side is where the defense is. So this would be where any defendant would be, their attorney. Usually it's a PD. And then, like I said, this is usually where family members will sit, supporters, friends, anything like that.
And do you see another exit in this photograph?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Yeah, it would be right here in this photograph. This is an exit also to that chamber hallway where there's a lot of different chambers and offices, things like that.
So staff and sometimes attorneys might use that?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, there's a copier machine, so sometimes when I have to run and go make copies, I'll kind of run through that backside, and occasionally I'll come through that door, but usually not. But right behind there's like a big copy machine and jury rooms for deliberation.
But generally speaking, the public would not use that?
No,
correct?
no.
And then showing you,
I think you've got another double negative there. Does the public use those doors?
Not that specific one, no. And the one behind the judge, no, never.
Okay.
showing you states 4 on the overhead.
Mm-hmm.
Is this, does this appear to be a photograph taken from the area where the juror box was in the previous photograph?
Absolutely, yeah. This is that angle, kind of where that door would be, and so this is where like the jury would sit. This is where like occasionally witnesses will come up and maybe a victim statement would be given, or attorneys will go up there and make an argument. This is where the state would be, and that was kind of where that previous photo was taken, would be back here for friends and family. And then this door is kind of where a holding cell is, and then also where defendants during our criminal calendars, that's where they will walk those defendants through that door. And then to the right side is where our recorder would sit, and then this is the court clerk here.
Okay, and when you say defendants, do you mean in custody defendants?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. And then showing you states 5. What is this?
So this is kind of the angle from the recorder and our court clerk. So this was kind of that long desk here, and this is facing the jury box. So kind of where that last picture was taken would be right here, and then this is that door that leads to the copier. So then you can kind of go through there, but typically there wouldn't be public that'd be going through there. Occasionally attorneys do, but yeah, this is just kind of that opposite angle. And then to the right side here would be like the defense table where usually PDs sit or defendants that are out of custody.
Showing you state 6. What are we looking at here?
This is the view from the court clerk's angle here. So this is where the judge would sit. This is my monitor right here. Literally right where that picture is being taken, it would be exactly like the angle from the court clerk. And then this right here would be the witness stand. It's kind of like right here. Then we have a TV there, and then that's that same door, obviously the jury box. And then when we have criminal calendars, instead of a jury there would be the in-custody defendants would all be kind of taking up that area.
Okay. If you could look right here for me, where my finger is.
Yeah.
Is that essentially like a wall between where the judge sits and the court clerk?
Yes, it's a full wall. There's no kind of opening that you can go through there. Kind of the only access point to that chair that you're seeing where the judge would sit is through that right side. So you'd have to go through that right side. There's kind of like maybe 2 steps that you go around and yeah, right there. There's kind of 2 steps that you would go around. And that's the only way to get over there. I mean, unless you were to hop over this little wall there, you can't really get to that side of there's no access to it essentially.
Okay, so this would be the door that you'd walk through to get to the...
Yeah, it kind
area
of
where you
swings
would-
around. Yeah.
Okay. Showing you state 7.
And then from right here, this is the view from the judge, kind of where the judge sits. That's a microphone right here, and there's a little sign too that'll say like always recording. That's right there. And this is her view. That right there, that monitor would again be where an out of custody defendant would be, along with a PD or whoever their attorney would be. This side would be typically filled up on criminal days with defendants, the in custody ones, and then on the right side would be where the DA or the state representative would be.
And kind of like the equipment where I'm standing, there's an Elmo there.
Absolutely, yeah, just like that. And attorneys will walk up, they'll give arguments, and that main door right there is the access point for the public or attorneys that are going into the courtroom that day. Anyone that's essentially not a courtroom staff member is typically walking through that main door there.
And you're talking about the 2 double doors? right
Correct.
here?
Yeah.
Hey, we're starting to talk over each other, so why don't we make sure she gets her question out, and then counsel make sure he gets his answer out, okay?
Showing you states 8. What are we looking at here?
This is kind of my view, even though that's not necessarily my chair, that's the judge's chair. I'm just kind of turned to the side, but this is my angle. This is my monitor right here, and this is kind of the view if you were to stand up in that little room section that's blocked off. This right here is that wall area that we were talking about earlier, that's completely closed off. That's the court clerks right here in the recorder. And this is, like I said, my monitor, so this is kind of would be my view.
Okay, and I'm going to zoom in on something really quickly here.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see the red and green buttons right there?
Yeah, I do.
What are those?
I'm not exactly sure what they are. I think they're panic buttons or silent alarm. I'm not exactly sure. Or they may be, I know there are certain buttons that lock the courtroom doors. It could be those, but I'm not exactly sure on what those are. I've never really had to use them.
Okay. Showing you states 9. What is this?
So this is kind of the angle that you would see if you were, like, let's say a defendant walking through that door, the in custodies, almost where that holding cell is. So once you walk out, if you were to just look left, this is the angle you would see. This is that door that I was talking about earlier that leads to like chambers and offices and things like that. And then if you see on the right side, if you were to loop around, that is how we would walk up to where we would be sitting, me and the judge. But this is just kind of that angle there. This chair to the bottom side, this is like typically an extern may sit there, but it's usually either an officer or no one sitting there.
Thank you. Showing you states 10. What are we looking at in this photograph?
Yeah, this would be the witness stand. This is there's a monitor similar to how it is here, where anything that's being shown on the Elmo could be seen by the witness. That would be the judge's chair right here. That's the judge's monitor. That would be my monitor. There's typically 2 chairs up here, so I would have a much smaller chair right there. And this is that door that we would enter through. This is kind of that one access point, the wraparound. And this is kind of like just a granite wall that we have that sits behind the judge.
Okay, and I'm sorry, I may have missed it. You may have already answered this
Yeah.
question. Right here, is there any way to access the area where the judge sits other than to climb over that wall?
No. These doors, those aren't doors. It's like a wall almost.
And just like in here, the witness stand is lower than where the judge sits?
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
In the back hallway that you've referred to, that staff and in particular you and judge would use to get to the courtroom, are there exits to the ground floor? Like, are there stairs back there?
Like in that backside to go down?
Like in the rear hallway?
Yes, yeah, there are. If you were to walk out of that door I was talking about near the copier, if you were to just turn around, there is a big door right there where there's a stairwell, and you could go down. I'll often use that stairwell to go down to be like a little supply office to get some extra Sharpies or whatever I need or whatever the judge needs.
What about elevators? Are there elevators in the rear?
Yes, there's elevators. Instead of making a right, if you were to just make a left, there's elevators right there as soon as you were to walk out. And then there's also, if further down the hall, another pair of elevators as well.
Thank you. Showing you states 11. What are we looking at in this photograph?
So this is the angle from the witness stand. That's that monitor that I was saying that's similar to this one here. That's the microphone. Those doors for the public to go through. And this is just kind of that angle if you were to be sitting at the witness stand.
And you indicated that on January 3rd there was a correctional officer sitting right there?
Yes.
Showing you states 12. Does this appear to be a photograph of Judge Holthus's bench?
Yes, absolutely. That's just right. She'd be sitting right on top of there, and then I'd be on that right side.
And there's a bit of a glare in this photograph, but is there a nameplate there too?
Yes, and it says Honorable Judge Mary Kay Holthus.
Showing you states 13. Is this a close-up of that
That is it right there.
nameplate? Mm-hmm. And it says Judge Mary Kay Holthus?
Yes.
Showing you states 14. Does this appear to be the desk or counter area in the judge's bench area and where you sit?
Absolutely, yeah. So I'd be on that right side where this monitor is. This is that kind of wall that cuts off between where the judge would sit and then the court clerk on that left side. Again, this is the judge's monitor, and then this is kind of that front view and that nameplate that we were just discussing.
Showing you states 15. What is this?
So this is once you were to walk out that door between kind of like the chambers and those offices, kind of where the whole court clerks and the entire court staff essentially walks through. If you weren't going down that long hallway that we discussed earlier where the court clerk and recorder sits, this would be making a left. So this is how me and the judge, this is the only access area to that little kind of sitting area where the judge would be and then myself. So every time that we go into court, whether it's for a trial or a calendar, we go through this area. That door that's closed right now is usually open, and we just kind of walk through. There's kind of like 2 steps, and you just walk up, we make a right, and then I'd be sitting right on this right side here, and then the judge would be kind of right here.
Okay. And going back to 19, this is the door that you're referring to, correct?
Exactly, yes.
That you and Judge enter into?
Yes.
Are there cameras in the courtroom?
Yes, sir.
Are you familiar with the JABS system?
Yes.
Is that one of the recording systems in the courtroom?
Yes.
Do you know whether or not the system will kind of alternate between various cameras in the courtroom?
Absolutely, yeah. Depending on whatever the mic picks up, it'll usually could change from the witness stand to the judge and also whoever's speaking, whether it's an attorney or a defendant or kind of whoever's on that other side where the desks are.
So it's activated by noise.
Absolutely.
And JAVS, what does that stand for?
That I don't know. I don't know what Jeff stands for exactly. But I know, it's just kind of the recording system that can catch whatever's going on, and if like we need to look back or like if the court clerks are making their minutes, they'll typically go back and watch the JAVs to hear exactly what attorneys were saying or the judge, so that way they can get an accurate depiction of what had happened and occurred during court.
And
That's, by the way, JAVS is Jefferson Audio Visual System. Just an FYI.
thank you. I learn something new every day. Is there also a fixed camera in the courtroom? Do you know?
Yeah, I believe there is. Yes.
And do you know approximately where in the courtroom it's mounted?
I believe it's, I don't exactly know for sure, so I don't, I'm pretty sure it's kind of right behind us looking at the entire courtroom. But I don't know for certain, but I know there is one that kind of looks down, but I think that will partly be activated by the JAVs as well.
Is JAVS always running during the course of a criminal calendar?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Now, to go to January 3rd of 2024. On that date, you were not originally supposed to be working, correct?
Correct.
Were you supposed to have the day off?
I don't know if I was supposed to have the day off, but that morning I'd woke up and I was actually studying for the bar at that time. The bar was taking place in February, so this was January 3rd. It was kind of our first, it was right after New Year's, so it was our first criminal calendar of the year, and actually our only criminal calendar that week. So, and it was on a Wednesday, so my boss had texted me, one of the court staffs, and said, hey, why don't you take the day off? It's not that long of a calendar. Why don't you study? It's coming up here pretty soon. It's a pretty stressful exam, so, you can go ahead and just take the day to study. And for whatever reason, I just really wanted to be there. I wanted to, it was our only criminal calendar that week, and it was just something that, I don't know, I felt like I just should be at. So I told her thank you, but instead I decided to go and to work that day.
And on that date, did you sit next to the judge like you would during any other calendar?
Absolutely.
Were you multitasking like you indicated you typically do?
Yeah. I prepped the files that day, kind of started off as any other, and during calendar, I remember just going through emails, check in to see if there's any updates. Sometimes attorneys will email you right during calendar, so just kind of checking and making sure everything was running smoothly.
During a typical criminal calendar, I know you indicated that there was at least one correctional officer seated in the witness stand in the courtroom.
Yes.
Are there typically more than one correctional officer?
There usually is. Sometimes there's only one. We always have our marshal there as well. But especially if it's like a lot of defendants that are in custody coming in, there will be maybe 2 correctional officers, occasionally 3, but usually, like I said, you'll have the one. You'll always have the marshal there as well.
Are there times when the correctional officers who are present in the courtroom might remove some of the in-custody defendants and take them back to the Clark County Detention Center? Absolutely,
yeah. Especially if there's a lot of defendants in a particular day, or maybe if there's like some sort of intermission or a break, whatever ones that we've kind of gotten through the in-custodies, they'll go ahead and kind of uncuff whoever's together or whoever hasn't gone, and then they'll go and walk those individuals through that door that we were talking about and then on to CCDC.
But there will always be at least one correctional officer in the courtroom if there are in-custody defendants,
Yes.
correct?
Oh, yeah.
And you indicated that there's also a court martial that's in the courtroom during criminal calendars?
Always, yeah.
And is that Marshal Shane Brandon in your courtroom?
Yes, it is.
And typically, how is he dressed?
In full uniform. He's got, a vest on, and he looks almost like a police officer. It's like a brown tan shirt that he has, and like I said, a vest. He's got a full belt. He's got a gun on him. He's got a badge, everything like that.
With regards to the correctional officers that are in the courtroom, are they typically dressed in uniform?
Oh, yes. Yeah, almost identical to the marshal.
And readily identifiable as law enforcement officers?
Yes, absolutely.
Are they typically armed?
Yes.
With a firearm?
Yes.
On January 3rd of 2024, do you recall a defendant being on your calendar that day by the name of Deobra Redden.
Yes, I do.
Do you see that individual in the courtroom today?
Yes, I do.
Could you please point to him and identify an article of clothing that he's wearing today?
Sure. That's him right there, wearing, looks like, I can't really see the color of the tie, almost like a purple tie, blue shirt, standing up right there.
May the record reflect that he's identified the defendant, Your Honor.
Let the record so reflect.
Now, with regards to Mr. Redden on January 3rd of 2024, were you aware of whether or not he'd ever been in your department prior to that date?
Yes.
Was he or was he not?
He was, yeah.
And do you recall what he had been in your department for previously?
Exactly, I'm not sure. I believe, I don't want the record to be wrong here. I believe it was a domestic violent offense, if I remember correctly.
Do you know what kind of hearing it was? Sorry.
The kind of hearing that he was there originally for, or that
Previously.
day?
Previously.
It was a sentencing hearing. Where we would, I believe, given him probation.
Okay. And there was nothing particularly remarkable about that hearing, correct?
Nothing remarkable at all.
Were you aware on January 3rd of 2024 when his case was called? Were you paying attention?
Yes, I was absolutely paying attention. I remember him kind of getting walked through by our marshal. When there's an out-of-custody defendant, whether it's a sentencing or really any hearing whatsoever, we always have a marshal directly behind him, and it's typically Shane, who's directly behind that particular defendant, whatever it is. And I remember him coming into the courtroom, and I remember him kind of talking for a long time. The judge had given him an opportunity to address the court. And I remember at that point, there was really nothing unusual. He seemed really polite and courteous, and there was no kind of nothing unique about the situation. So I kind of had lost interest a little bit. I was, doing my emails. It wasn't really, like I said, anything unique about the situation. And I kind of, like I said, I kind of just started answering emails.
Prior to Mr. Redden addressing the court on his own behalf, do you recall whether or not anyone from the state made an argument on behalf of the state?
I think, I can't.
Were you paying attention at that point?
Yeah, I don't necessarily recall. I mean, I think the state may have, but I don't necessarily recall exactly what, kind of right before then. Like I said, I was kind of answering emails and stuff, and I didn't think anything of it.
Do you recall who the calendar deputy was that day?
The calendar deputy?
Who was handling the calendar on behalf of the state? On January 3rd.
State, it was, there was Jory, I know, was there. I know Richard Scow was there. I think it was Scow at the time, because Jory will kind of pop in from time to time. So I think it was Scow.
Okay. And with regards to a calendar deputy, is that the individual that would handle the bulk of the matters on the criminal calendar that day?
Exactly, yes, yeah.
And occasionally specialty team deputies might pop in and out to handle individual matters?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. So on that date, Richard Scow was the assigned calendar deputy,
Yes.
and Jory Scarborough was a specialty team deputy that appeared on
Yes.
January 3rd. At some point after Mr. Redden addressed the court, do you recall something unusual happening?
Oh, yeah. So, like I said, I was kind of lost. I didn't lose interest, but I was kind of listening, but I wasn't, paying too much attention. I was just kind of answering emails. And then I could hear, I remember the judge speaking. I remember the judge kind of going and kind of saying what she was going to say. And then I could remember hearing some handcuffs. And then what really caught my attention was I heard, excuse my language, but I heard, fuck that bitch. And when I heard that, I immediately looked up. And when I'd seen Mr. Redden, and I'd seen him kind of hop over the defense desk that we were speaking about earlier, and he'd kind of put one hand down, and it just kind of pretty easily just hopped right over. And at that moment, I was obviously my full attention was looking at this particular individual. And at that moment in time, I actually thought he was going to go for the door because occasionally when we go to remand defendants into custody, they'll go and make a run for it. And there was that particular door that we were speaking about earlier. So I actually was under the impression he was going for the door. Never would I even imagine that he was going to go for the judge. But then I remember looking at him. I was actually saying like, whoa, because I was trying to like process what was even happening. And it all happened so fast. Like I was saying before, the defense desk is actually a lot further than these desks are here. And he was able to scale that distance in such a short amount of time. I mean, the video doesn't even do it justice as to just how fast that all took place. And then I remember him doing this just incredible leap over the judge's bench bar there. And at that moment in time, I kind of just reacted. There was I wasn't even thinking, to be honest. It was just all reaction and a reflex. I went right in to try my best to kind of to protect the judge. So, no hesitation. I tried my best to go in. And at that point, unfortunately, he was so fast and kind of just athletic. He was able to get to her. And I remember him kind of sprawling his arms out like this and just clamping those arms down. And one kind of right on her hair here. And then the other one kind of like right in between the neck and shoulder blade, kind of like right here. So kind of just clamping down. And then I remember him just smashing the back of her skull on that tile wall that we were discussing earlier, just smashing the back of it. And at that moment, I was actually thinking to myself, like, oh my God, like he's going to kill Judge Holthus. And, I remember after he had smacked her skull, he had actually dragged her down. So he goes and does that, and then he actually drags her down, almost twists her a little bit, and was like face to face with the judge. And at this point, I am almost like on his back trying to get him up. And, he's like this. And Judge Holthus is actually, Judge Holthus was like frozen at the time. I mean, she was literally frozen solid, almost like a piece of petrified wood. She was just not even moving. I think she was in a state of shock at the time. And he was yelling things at her. He was saying things to her, and I couldn't make out anything that he was saying because I was actually in turn screaming at him and saying, "Get off the judge! Get off the judge! What are you doing?" I was like, "What's wrong with you? Get off the judge!" And I remember vividly just how strong Mr. Redden was. I mean, this guy, he is unbelievably strong and much bigger than me. So I'm trying to wrestle him and get him off, and he is glued to her like a magnet, like an actual magnet. Like I couldn't pry him off of her. And it actually
Excuse me.
I'm sorry.
Where was he grabbing her at that time?
Same thing. It kind of just the hair and right here. So, and would not let go. Like was just stuck on her.
And you indicated that he was right in her face, approximately how far?
Yeah, I mean, you couldn't get any closer. I mean, like almost like touching noses, like this. And
I'm sorry, could you
oh
turn
yeah,
that?
yeah, almost like this. I mean, literally like this, like yelling at her, saying things at her. This is when he had kind of twisted her, and I'm on his back, and they're almost this close, like
So-
face to face.
Approximately like 3 to 6 inches apart, maybe?
Yeah, I'd say so, maybe even closer. And they are close, and she's completely unresponsive, just petrified, just completely, like I said, in just a state of shock.
Had you ever seen Judge Holthus in that state before?
Oh, never in my life. I've never seen her, let alone really anyone. I mean, she was frozen solid, and just, I mean, it was like I said. I mean, it was unbelievable to see, especially coming from her. And I've known her a long time, and I've never seen anything like that.
Generally speaking, would you say that she is a timid person or a strong person?
Absolutely a strong person, very strong person. She strong personality, really tough. Not much can really rattle her, but I've never seen her like that ever.
And you indicated that he was screaming things at her. You don't have any recollection of specific statements he was making?
I have none. Honestly, some of it, you can't even hear much because so much adrenaline kicks in. It's like everything kind of goes silent. I remember just him saying things to her, and I remember saying things to him, but I can't really make out anything that was said.
What was the tone of voice that he was using?
I remember him saying things, almost like, it was a pretty stern voice, but I can't really make out much. I mean, even the tone too much, to be honest. He was, because I was just so, like I said, it was like everything went blank, and I'm yelling at him. I'm like, get off the judge. I'm so just focused on trying to just get him up. And it was just so unusual, and I just wasn't even really paying attention to anything that he was saying.
As you were trying to pull him up, what was he doing with his body?
Oh, he was just stuck to her. There was no getting him up. He was fighting tooth and nail. I'm trying my best to get him up, and he is just latched onto her. There is no getting this guy off of her. It was unbelievable. I actually remember saying to myself, I could not believe how strong Mr. Redden is. It was unbelievable. I could not. I'm just trying my best. I'm struggling to try to just get the guy up just a little bit. Off Judge, and he is just glued to her.
Where were your arms placed on Mr. Redden as you were
So-
trying to lift him off?
Yeah. So honestly, I was almost like kind of around him. I kind of grabbed his shoulders like this, kind of like imagine this was his head, not in like a chokehold or anything, but kind of like right underneath, and kind of grabbing him with this other arm and just trying to just lift him up. Anything I could do to just try to get him off the judge.
So your arms were wrapped around his chest area?
Almost, yeah,
essentially?
kind of like right here, almost like right below the neck area.
And he continued to go towards her and was refusing to let go?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Just kind of like I said, just still with that kind of just death grip almost.
And you indicated previously that you, at the time that you were seeing this occur initially, you had the thought, oh my God, he's going to kill her?
Yes, especially when I saw her hit the back of her skull in that tile. I absolutely thought he's going to kill her.
When you observed his hand, I believe you indicated that it was between the shoulder and the neck area.
Mm-hmm.
Was she already on the ground at that point, or was that as he was kind of flying into her forcefully?
Right when he kind of did this, where his hands landed is almost where they stayed the entire time. So they kind of just, like I said, kind of just latched on, and there was no letting go. So he kind of did twist her a little bit, and when they were on the floor, but they didn't really move much, the hands, and that's basically it.
Can you tell me, when they were on the ground, how they were positioned?
It kind of had changed. So, like I said, they were face to face. But then when I was trying to get him up, he kind of had gotten up a little bit. She was still kind of frozen. But he had his hands right on her hair, and still in that like neck area. He's got long arms, so he's kind of holding her like this. I'm trying to get him up, and he's just relentless, trying to just get back at her. And they had kind of just changed positions a little bit, depending on kind of just wrestling with me also as well. They kind of started out like this, but that only had lasted just momentarily. He was still saying things to her, but she had kind of, like I said, was just kind of frozen a little bit, and there's just a little bit of like wrestling going on almost. But those hands stayed kind of where they were.
Was he directly on top of her? Was he next to her?
At first, he was on top of her, and then as I was kind of pulling him off, and then especially when the CO came, he'd kind of gotten up a little bit and kind of maneuvered his body, but the kind of hands stayed in place.
When you say that he'd kind of gotten up a bit, was he on his knees? Was he still on the ground?
Yeah, well,
flat? What was he doing?
when he had first jumped over, it was such a incredible jump that he had like almost landed on his knees, but like he actually wasn't like fully flat on the ground. It wasn't like he had just laid on top of her. He almost had like a pretty good formation, I guess, of where he was. So like he almost had like a leg out and kind of was able to really be on top of her and kind of prevent anyone from just kind of, he wasn't like he was just dead weight and couldn't lift him up. I mean, he had like a good position on her. And that's why I think also, I mean, it was so hard to lift Mr. Redden off of her. As he was just kind of in a good spot and was not letting go, almost just determined, like he was on a mission or something.
While she was on the ground and he was kind of on top of her, or at least had his hands around her neck, shoulder area and had her by the hair, did you see him do anything else to her?
No, I didn't see him really do anything else to her other than, screaming at her and kind of just having his hands like that. That was basically it. I didn't see, really any like punches or anything like that.
You indicated that he was extremely strong.
Yes.
Like incredible strength.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
What about his physical build?
Oh, he's a big guy, a lot bigger than me, and athletic, very strong, tall, and I've been in that courtroom many times. I don't know anyone that can make that kind of a jump. It was honestly impressive.
Do you have any idea approximately how tall he is?
I believe he's like 6'2", maybe 6'1".
You indicated that at some point you became aware that the correctional officer had jumped in to assist you.
Yes, yeah, so it was about 7 seconds of me wrestling with him before the correction officer could make his way past that barrier we were talking about, because he was sitting in the witness stand similar to how I am now, and then he had taken about 7 seconds before he could actually cross that barrier, because once you are able to get through that, it's essentially just you and whoever's back there. So at that point, it was me and the judge, and you're blocked off from everyone else in that courtroom. So It took about 7 seconds of me kind of wrestling with Mr. Redden to try to get him up before the correctional officer came in. And actually, until the correctional officer had come, I was unable to actually get him off of her. And thankfully, when the correctional officer came, it took both of us were able to finally unlatch him from Judge Holthus.
And when you unlatched him initially, did he stay unlatched?
When we had gotten him up, yeah. I mean, I would say when he was actually up, yes. I remember him because I kind of had him. My arms were almost on his chest area, right below his neck, kind of like right here. And I remember him holding on to my arms. And I remember thinking to myself, like, I hope he's not going to turn around and attack me. So I remember just trying to get him up. I remember holding on, fighting, just really trying to get back at the judge. And I remember the correctional officer being right there. And I was actually under the impression, once the correctional officer was there, that there were more officers behind him. I remember seeing a blue suit. I wasn't sure at the time who that individual was, but I just thought, there were actually more people that were right there that were coming to our aid. So when we'd finally gotten him up, I actually had kind of let go. I kind of stopped engaging in the situation because it's not really my place to put my life on the line and try to protect the judge. And at the same time, I also didn't want to get in the way because I'd seen the officers. I'm not really trained, and I didn't want to kind of be somewhere I wasn't supposed to be. So I'd actually completely almost let up entirely, and at that time.
Okay, and when you let up initially, what did you do? Where did you turn your attention?
Where did Mr. Redden turn his attention?
Where did you turn your attention at that point?
I was watching the situation. I was watching where Judge was also. She was kind of my first priority, but I had kind of just completely let up and just watched the correctional officer there kind of, and was hoping he would be able to contain the individual.
The correctional officer that assisted you, was he armed with a firearm that day?
Yes, he was.
You saw the firearm on his side?
Oh, yeah.
And did you observe that firearm on his side during this interaction?
Yes.
At some point, do things go south again?
Yes, they do. So I'd kind of let up, like I said earlier, and the correctional officer, who is much smaller than Mr. Redden, the correctional officer, and I remember too, I had a blue suit at the time that was right here, so I was under the impression that was another officer, and I'd let up, and then I remember Mr. Redden just going at the correctional officer and just winding back his arm and just landing blows, like really big blows, just boom, boom. And then I realized it was actually Jory in the blue suit right there, and it wasn't another officer. It was one of the DAs who had ran around. So when I had seen that, I'm like, oh my God, this is far from over. So that's when I had no choice, but had to jump back in and try my best to help subdue Mr. Redden.
You indicated you made kind of a fist when you were punching. Was he striking the correctional officer with a closed fist?
Oh yeah, absolutely. He was complete. I mean, like I said, real big wind-ups, just huge blows. And I actually remember saying to myself, like, oh God, I hope he doesn't, grab the gun and maybe start shooting at someone in the courtroom. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen. I know the correctional officer's got a loaded gun right there, and now the correctional officer's in distress, and it's just me and a DA here. I wasn't sure what was going to happen, to be honest.
And what actions did you take to assist at that point?
At that time, I began punching Mr. Redden, try my best to help, and I remember eventually Shane had gotten up, which was our marshal at the time. He had gotten up and ran around, and at that point in time, another DA, Mr. Scow, he had actually gone around, and there was about 5 of us trying to contain him.
Okay, so when you say that Shane had gotten up and come around, do you mean he'd gone around that kind of triangular-shaped wall?
No, he had gone around the other side where like the witness stand would be, kind of like right here.
Okay, and you said the other DA, Richard Scow, was also back there now assisting?
Yes.
So it was you, Jory Scarborough, Richard Scow, Shane Marshall, and the corrections officer?
That's correct.
And ultimately, with the assistance of these 4 other people, are you all able to get him detained or restrained?
Yeah. When it took 5 of us, but once we were able to kind of get him, the correctional officer managed to get up, and with the help of everyone, we were able to, like I said, finally, contain Mr. Redden. And the minute that the correctional officer had gotten up, and I'd realized that, kind of the situation was handled, then I immediately went to check on Judge.
And when you went to go check on Judge, what did you observe about her?
Oh, she was frightened. She was in a fetal position right underneath the bench. Kind of, there's like where my feet are now, there's a similar kind of opening where she sits, and she was literally in a fetal position, shaking, just still frozen, scared for her life, just, almost like this, like just in a full state of just shock.
Is it fair to say that even once Mr. Redden had kind of been finally constrained or detained, he was still lying in the area where you and the judge would?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, he was laying there for quite some time.
And was that while he was being handcuffed so that he could be
Yes.
relocated?
Yes, and I remember a flood of security coming in and marshals and other people coming to help.
When you checked on Judge Holthus, did you try to get her to go back into chambers with you?
Yes, yeah. I stayed by her side the entire time. I didn't leave her side after that, and I remember her not wanting to go through our normal walkway whatsoever. She was so scared that she actually hopped over where that clerk sits. She actually hopped over that other side because she was so just scared and just, like I said, just it's kind of the state of just shock and emotion that she couldn't bring herself to just walk through that other area.
Once Mr. Redden was relocated, was she then able to exit out her normal path?
Well, no, she went over, like I said, she went right over where that clerk is, that big wall. She wouldn't walk through that normal path.
You also indicated that you became aware of an injury to Marshal Shane Brandon
Yes.
after things kind of settled down a little bit.
Yeah, I do remember when all the people were kind of trying to detain him, like all five of us. I remember looking up at Shane, who was sitting, or standing almost right here, and I remember seeing his head busted wide open like an onion peel, and his forehead was literally dangling off of his forehead, and I remember him saying, "How's the judge? How's the judge? How's everyone?" And him, kind of just worrying about everyone else, and meanwhile he's got an injury to himself. I'm like worried about us. How are you?
Mr. Redden was not bleeding though, correct?
I don't believe so.
Okay. I want to show you some photographs on the overhead showing you states 17. Do you recognize this as a photograph of the bench area after the incident?
Yes.
And the disturbance, the papers all over the place, the apparent blood on some of the paperwork,
Oh yeah.
is that all the result of Mr. Redden trying to attack Judge Holthus that day?
Absolutely.
Or actually attacking her?
Absolutely.
And the blood that's on the paperwork, is that Marshal Brandon's blood?
Yes. Yes, it is.
Counsel, how many more questions? I'd like
Just-
to give the jurors.
I'm almost done.
Okay.
Showing you states 18, the area where Judge Holthus was curled up in the fetal position, is that depicted in this photograph?
Yeah, it was would be right there, kind of right underneath
Right
that
here?
monitor. Yes, exactly.
Showing you states 19, is this the area where you would typically be seated during a counter?
Yep. Yep.
And obviously this is after the incident on January 3rd of 2024?
Correct. And the reason why there's so much blood is because that's where our marshal was over, trying to help and assist. Like I said, kind of right here. So that's where the witness stand would be, and that's why there's so much blood in that area.
Showing you states 20, is this the stair leading up to the judge's bench area
Yes, it is.
and the floor
Yep.
just outside? And this disturbance or the papers and the trash can being knocked over, that's all part of the incident, correct?
Correct.
Course indulgence. I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.